Gamar Chatima Tova, may you be inscribed for good in the book of life in this year 5784. Welcome everyone. It is always a treat, a thrill to have Stan Kessler join us for our music this morning and for a spirited, moving rendition of Kol Ami. And we begin our service on 147, Elu Devarim She'ein Lahem Shiur. There is no limit to the fulfillment of these mitzvot. leaving the corners of your fields for the needy, giving to God the first fruits of your harvest, gathering with the community for festivals, acting with kindness and loyalty, and striving for knowledge of Torah. And on 159, as a blade of your grass in a distant wild field loses a seed in the lap of the earth and dies away, sow in me your living breath. As you sow a seed in the earth, Baruch atah Adonai asher b'yado nefesh kol chai v'ruach kol basar ish. We give you praise, Adonai. All life is in your hand and in your care, the soul of every human being. Our service continues. Baruch Shamar 164. Baruch Shamar v'haya ha'olam, Baruch hu, Baruch Oseh v'reishit, Baruch Omer v'yoseh, Baruch Ozerim kayem, Baruch merachem al ha'aretz, Baruch merachem al ha'briot, Baruch mishalem zachar tov l're'av, Baruch Hailad v'kayam lanetzach, Baruch podeh u'matzil, Baruch Shemo. Blessed is the one who spoke on the world into being. Praised is God. Praise the one who is ever creating. Praise the one who creates with a word. Praise the one whose vision is made real. Praise the one who loves the earth. Praise the one who loves earth's creatures. Praise the one whose worshipers know goodness. Praise the one whose life and being last forever. Praise the one who rescues and sets free. Blessed is your name, our sovereign. We praise you with songs of celebration. Your oneness is the life of the cosmos. Yahid Elohim, Melech Shmarme'ad Ad Shemo Gadol, Baruch atah Adonai, Melech Mulal Batish Bachot. Continue our service on page 167. At the top of the page, let's read responsively. Adonai, my sovereign God, I praise your name. Boundless is your glory. Each generation sings of you, forever tells your story.
Goodness and mercy extend to all, hands open wide to nourish life.
I celebrate your faithful love, joyful forever. We sing to you, Ashrei, page 168. Continue on page 170, the psalm that celebrates the gift of music, Psalm 150. One of the major themes for these high holy days is God's singular sovereignty. Hamelech, page 173.
צדיקים בארוני לישרים נאוות ההילה בפי ישרים תתהלל ובדברי צדיקים תתברך ובלשון חסידים תתרומם ובקרב קדושים
Continuing on 174, Uvmakalot, Rivavot, Amcha Beit Yisrael, Rina Yaparshim Kamalkenu Bechol Dor Vahador, Yishtabak Shimcha Leahad Malkenu, Ha'el Hamelach Adov HaKadosh B'Shamayim Uva'aretz, Ki Lechana Adonai Elohei Avotenu V'imotenu, Shir Ushvecha Halel V'Zimra Ha'ozem Emshela Netzach, Gdula Gvurati La V'Tiferet, Kedusha Malchut Bracha V'Odot Me'ata V'Ad Olam, Baruch Atah Adonai, Hamelech Gadol Batishbachot El Hodod. Adonai Niflot Abocher B'Shir Zimra Melech Elchei Ha'olamim. We rise for Chatzi Kaddish on 176, which will lead us into the Baruch Hu on 178.
Kadash, Shemer Abba, Amen. Alma divrach yiruteh, v'yamlich malchoteh. ובזמן קריב ועם בארביטרום ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי קודשו בריחו, ולא מן כל מנחתה ושירתה, דוש וחתה ונחמתה, דמירן ועלמה ואמרו אמן.
Seated. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, whose power fills the cosmos, who opens for us the gates of compassion and lights up the eyes of those who await forgiveness, shaper of light, source of the darkness, maker of peace, creator of all. Continue on 181. Like an unbroken current, energy streams from the source, bathing the planet in light, calling forth life, movement, mind, unfolding from matter, the power to love. And we offer it back to you, our own creative energy, ever dreaming, building, shaping patterns out of chaos, searching out light in the darkness. Creation never ceases, not for an instant. All life is aglow with your light. All things draw sustenance from the source. Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer HaMeorot. And on the top of 183, you love us by helping us grow. You give us Torah, a ladder for the soul, words that draw us upward, every mitzvah, an invitation to climb, forge and kiln and crucible to purify our hearts. You give us Torah. You love us by helping us grow. Page 184. Unite us in love and reverence for you, that we may never feel ashamed of our deeds. We have trusted in your great and holy name. Now let us celebrate at last the joy of your salvation. Together, Havienu. V'havienu l'shalom, me'arba kanfot haaretz, v'tolikenu kol memiut lehartseinu, ki el poel Yeshuot hata, uvanu v'charta v'cholam v'lashon, v'keravtanu l'shimcha hagadol, Selah behemem lehodot lecha uyadchedcha be'ava. Baruch atah Adonai habocher be'amo Yisrael be'ahava. Shema, page 186.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך. ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך. וקשרתם מאוד על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך. וקשרתם מאוד על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך. וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך ובשעריך. וקשרתם מאוד על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך. וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך ובשעריך. וקשרתם מאוד על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך.
On page 36 is the paragraph after the Ve'ahavta about the tzitzit, the fringes that we wear. They become a behavioral tool, a reminder to do the mitzvot. The tzitzit represent the 613 commandments, and it compels us to think and act with intention and act with thoughtfulness. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe lemor daber el bnei Yisrael v'yarata alehem v'yasu lehem tzitzit al konveg devrahem ledorotam v'natnu al tzitzit kanaf patil techelet ve'elechem l'tzitzit uritem oto uzkartem ekol mitzvot Adonai v'yasitem otam v'lo taturu Akarei levavchem ve'akarei einechem asher atem zonim achareichem leman tizkeru ve'asitem ekol mitzvotai vayitem kedoshim le'eloheichem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'elohim ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem emet. You all should have picked up one of these handouts on the way in. It is the responsive reading from the Sidur, the prayer book Sharei Zahav from the Queer Synagogue in San Francisco, and let's read responsively. Here, when the world is about to crush me with all of its weight, when people have been too cruel because of their ignorance, when my government tries to silence me, when I feel a sense of helplessness during these uncertain times, when I am lost and tossed about in the day-to-day maze of activity, when loneliness slowly creeps into my life like the evening mist, when I feel isolated at times, when friends seem nowhere to be found in the daily grind, when I sometimes lose sight of what I can do for the community, when I feel that my family is scattered hundreds of miles away, when the cacophony outside is too much and I need to be soothed, when I run around and take the simple things for granted, when I am gone, I've left only my name. We continue now with Micha Mocha, page 196.
Micha Mocha חדשה שבחוג גאולים לשמך על שפת היום. יחד כולם הודו ולמלכו ואמרו
In anticipation of the Amidah, we rise for Tzur Yisrael, bottom paragraph on 196.
Tzur Yisrael, Kuma Bezrat Yisrael, Goleinu Adonai Tzvaot Shemo, Kadosh Yisrael, Baruch atah Adonai, Gal Yisrael. Amen.
Adonai Svatai Titachu Fiyagi Tilatecha. Adonai, open my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. The Amidah begins on page 200.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu b'imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Rachel, Hael Hagadol Hagabor V'Hamora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Dovim, V'Koneh HaKol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imot, U'Mevi Gedula Livnei V'Nem, L'Man Shama Ba'ava.
202.
Sefer HaChayim
Hoshia umagen, Baruch atah Adonai,
Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo.
Magen Abraham ve'ezrat Sarah.
Atah Gibor 204.
Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, mechayem metim, atah rav lehoshia.
מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיים עצים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומציל אסורים.
Baruch atah Adonai mechayeh hametim. Continue on page 207. Who by fire, who by water, who in the sunshine, who in the nighttime, who by high ordeal, who by common trial, who in your merry, merry month of May, who by very slow decay, and who shall I say is calling, who in her lonely slip, who by barbiturate, who in these realms of love, who by something blunt, who by avalanche, who by powder, who for his greed, who for his hunger, and who shall I say is calling, who by brave ascent, who by accident, who in solitude, who in the mirror, who by his lady's command, who by his own hand, who in the mortal chains, who in power, and who shall I say is calling. Unatana Tokef, page 208.
ונתן תוקף קדושת היום, כי הוא נורא ואיום, ובוא תנשא מלכותך, ויקרון בססד כיסאך, ותשב עליו באמת.
Please be seated. Continue on the bottom of 208. In truth, you are judge and plaintiff, counselor and witness. You inscribe and seal. You record and recount. You remember all that we have forgotten. And when you open the book of memories, it speaks for itself, for every human hand leaves its mark, an imprint like no other. And so a great shofar will cry, Tikiyah, a still small voice will be heard. Angels in a whirl of fear and trembling will say, Behold the day of judgment, for they too are judged. In your eyes even they are not blameless. All who come into the world pass before you, like sheep before their shepherd, as a shepherd considers the flock. When it passes beneath the staff, you count and consider every life. You set bounds, you decide destiny, you inscribe judgments. On 212, Rosh Hashanah Yekatehevun, Yom Kippur Yekatehevun. On Rosh Hashanah it is written, on the fast of Yom Kippur this is sealed. How many will pass away from this world? How many will be born into it? Who will live and who will die? Who will reach the ripeness of age? Who will be taken before their time? Who by fire and who by water? Who by war and who by beast? Who by famine and who by drought? Who by earthquake and who by plague? Who by strangling and who by stoning? Who will rest and who will wander? Who will be tranquil and who will be troubled? Who will be calm and who tormented? Who will live in poverty and who in prosperity? Who will be humbled and who exalted? Berosh Hashanah Yekatehevun, Yom Kippur Yekatehevun. Page 214. But through return to the right path, through prayer and righteous giving, we can transcend the harshness of the decree. You are everything that we praise you for, slow to anger, quick to forgive. You do not wish the death of sinners, but urge them to return from their ways and live. Until the day of death, you wait for them. You accept them at once if they return. Since you created us, you know our impulses. We are but flesh and blood. We rise for Kedusha, page 218.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרון, ככתוב היה נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ, כבודו. אדיר אדירנו אדוני, אדוננו מאדיר, שמך בכל הארץ, ברוך כבוד אדוני, אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו, הוא מלכנו, הוא מושיענו והוא ישמיענו, רחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגידו לך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נרדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש, לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
Please be seated. Continue on 223. Uvachain, and so. To be awake is to be alive. Only that day dawns to which we are awake. One cannot help but be in awe when one contemplates the mysteries of eternity, of life, of the marvelous structure of reality. It is enough if one tries merely to comprehend a little of this mystery every day. Never lose a holy curiosity. Wisdom begins with awe of the eternal. And on page 226, Uvachain, and so, in your holiness, give the righteous the gift of a vision bright with joy, a world where evil has no voice, and the rule of malevolence fades like wisps of smoke. Good people everywhere will celebrate the stunning sight of arrogance gone from the earth. Kadosh Atah, page 228.
shatav nara shemecha v'nera mi baladecha kakatuv vayikbarna etzvot b'mishpat v'ha'el hakadosh nikdash b'tzedakah baruch atah Adonai Amelech HaKadosh.
Continue on the bottom of page 230. In your love, eternal God, you've given us this Yom Kippur, a day on which our wrongs are forgiven, a day of sacred assembly, a day to be mindful of our people's going out from Egypt. Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'yimotenu v'yavo v'yagia v'yire'eh v'yiratzeh v'yishma yifadeh v'yizacher zichronenu v'nodenu v'zichron avotenu v'yimotenu v'zichron Yerushalayim ir kadshecha v'zichron kol amcha beit Yisrael lefanecha l'fleita l'tova l'cheinu chesed u'rachamim l'chaim u'shalom b'yom ha'kippurim hazeh. Our God and God of the generations before us, may a memory of us ascend and come before you. May it be heard and seen by you, winning your favor and reaching your awareness, together with the memory of our ancestors, the memory of your sacred city, Jerusalem, and the memory of your people, the family of Israel. May we be remembered for safety, well-being, and favor, for love and compassion, for life and for peace on this day of atonement. And on the top of 233, Zachrenu Adonai Eloheinu bo l'tova, eternal God, remember us. Uvdenu vo livravcha, be mindful of us. V'hoshienu vo l'chaim, and redeem us for a life of goodness and blessing. And let us say, Amen. Favor us with words of deliverance and mercy. Show us the depth of your care. God, we await your redemption, for you reign with grace and compassion. Continue on page 237. You are blessed, Adonai, sovereign, who forgives our failings and pardons the failings of your people, the house of Israel. You banish our guilt from year to year. You reign in majesty over all the earth. You sanctify the people of Israel in the day of atonement. Ritzeh, page 238.
Chazina
Continue on page 240. Modi Manach Nulach. God, who is ours, God of all generations, to you we are grateful forever. Rock and protector of our lives, your saving power endures from age to age. We thank you and tell the tale of your praise, your power in our lives, your caring for our souls, the constant miracle of your kindness. Morning, noon, and night, we call you goodness, for your compassion never ends. We call you mercy, for your love has no limit. We call you hope, now and for all time. Baruch atah Adonai hatov shimcha lecha na'el lehodot. Blessed are you, Adonai, whose goodness deserves thanks and praise. Continue with Eloheinu, page 244.
Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu, Barachenu, Babracha, המשולשת, הכתובה בתורה, יברכך אדוני וישמרך,
כן יהי רצון.
יאר אדוני פניו ויקונך,
כן יהי רצון.
יסר אדוני פניו אליך וישם לך שלום.
Amen.
A prayer for peace, Sim Shalom 246.
Sing, sing, sing shalom, sing, sing, sing shalom, sing, sing, sing shalom, tova uveracha. Sing, sing, sing shalom, sing, sing, sing shalom, sing, sing, sing shalom, tova uveracha. Yai lai lai. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la la ya la la la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la la Sing shalom, sing, sing, sing shalom, sing, sing, sing shalom, sing, sing, sing shalom, tova uveracha. Little faster. Sing, sing, sing shalom, sing, sing, sing shalom, sing, sing, sing shalom, tova uveracha.
Baruch atah Adonai oseh hashalom. We continue now, page 252, with the Avinu Malkeinu. Read it responsively from Hebrew into the English. Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Kolenu.
Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, hear our voice.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu Lefanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, we have strayed and sinned before you.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chamol Aleinu, V'alu Aleinu V'tapenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion on us and our families.
Avinu Malkeinu, Kalev Dera V'chera V'ra'a Me'aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, halt the onslaught of sickness, violence, and hunger.
Avinu Malkeinu, Kalev Kol Tsar Umastin Me'aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, halt the reign of those who cause pain and terror.
Avinu Malkeinu, Kadvenu B'Sefer Chaim Tovim.
Avinu Malkeinu, enter our names names in the book of lives well lived.
Avinu Malkeinu Chadesh Aleinu Shana Tova.
Avinu Malkeinu, renew for us the year of goodness.
Avinu Malkeinu Malei Yadeinu Birkotecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, let our hands overflow with your blessings.
Avinu Malkeinu Harem Karen Mishichecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, let our eyes behold the dawn of redemption.
Avinu Malkeinu Na'al Tashivenu Rekam Lifanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, we pray, do not turn us away from you with nothing.
Avinu Malkeinu Kabel Barachamim Ratzon Et Tefilatenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, welcome our prayer with love, accept and embrace it.
Avinu Malkeinu Aseh Imanu Laman Shemecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, act toward us as befits your name.
Avinu Malkeinu Aseh Lamancha Im Lo Lamanenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, act for your sake, if not for ours.
Avinu Malkeinu Ein Lanu Melech Ela Ata.
Avinu Malkeinu, you alone are our sovereign.
Avinu Malkeinu Petach Sharei Shamayim Litlatenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, let the gates of heaven be open to our prayer.
Avinu Malkeinu Shema Kolenu Chus V'Rachem Aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, hear our voice, treat us with tender compassion.
Avinu Malkeinu Chanenu Vanenu Ki Ein Banu Ma'asim Aseh Imanu Tzedaka V'Chesed V'Hoshienu.
Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, answer us with grace, for our deeds are wanting. Save us through acts of justice and love.
Avinu Malkeinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Kolenu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, Chamal Aleinu, Ve'alol Aleinu, Ve'tapenu. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Kodenu Sefer Chaim Tovim. Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Kolenu.
Torah service begins page 255. Ein kamocha ve'Elohim Adonai v'ein kamasecha malchutecha malchut kol olamim umemshaltecha b'chol dor v'hador Adonai melech Adonai malach Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed Adonai oz le'amo yitein Adonai yvaharech et amo v'shalom av harachamim heitiv avirtzoncha et Sion tivnei chomot Yerushalayim tivnei chomot Yerushalayim Ki v'cha levad batachnu melech el ram v'nisa adon olamim. I'll ask Ethan Corson and Jenna Brodsky to come up, and as they do, and as the Torah is unwrapped, I'll ask everyone to please rise, turning to page 256. Adonai iti, od aroma ma shemo yachdav.
שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל.
Please be seated. So the Torah portion for this Yom Kippur morning, you're not going to find it in your machzor because I pulled out a different one. A little trade secret: when you only have one Torah and you don't like to do a lot of rolling back and forth, you find the traditional Torah reading for Yom Kippur morning, so it can be placed next to the traditional Torah reading for Yom Kippur afternoon, which are right next to each other, rolling all the way from Devarim, Deuteronomy, back to Leviticus. Anyway, that's how some decisions get made around here. It lays out the ritual for Yom Kippur and designates this day as a Shabbat Shabbaton, a day of complete cessation of work. And more than maybe any other holiday, Yom Kippur really emphasizes ritual. And while in our progressive world, we kind of pick and choose which rituals are important to us, which ones we can kind of leave aside. And all to the good. The importance we do place on ethical mitzvot is important, but I do think rituals have a way of kind of feeding us into a better place in observance of ethical mitzvot as well. That it gives us a sense of intention about our behavior and a sense of mindfulness, which seems to be kind of an ongoing theme this morning. So sometimes, and I think there is, actually the older I get, the more non-rational I become, and I think there is a bit of magic to all this. So I'm buying in more and more, notwithstanding that I was raised by a dogged rationalist Litvak father of blessed memory. So with that, I will call to the Torah, Yamod, Shalom Zev ben Shlomo Rishon.
Baruch hu et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, asher bachachanu mikol ha'amim, v'notan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen. Shabbat Shabton hi lachem v'nitem abnoshetechem chukat olam v'chiper hakohen asher yimshachoto asher yimaleh et yado l'chakein tachat aviv v'lavash et bigdei habad bigdei hakodesh v'chiper et migdash hakodesh v'ohel moed v'hamizbeach yichaper v'al hakohanim v'al kol ha'makahal yichaper v'yatazot lachem l'chukat olam l'chaper Al b'nei Yisrael, machal chatotam, achad pashana, vayas kasher, tziva Adonai et Moshe.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Now come to the time in our service when we think about those who can't be with us in community due to illness. We wish them a refuah shlema, rufat hanefesh, rufat haguf. I'll read the names I have, and then we'll go around the room and have you call out the names of those others who you know are in need of a blessing of healing. Robert Clinton, Kenneth Dantzler, Brian Guthrie, Mark Ordo, Micah Ben Sara, Josh Greenwald, and Beth Greenwald, and others. Okay, thanks. Thanks. Thanks, Brad. Thanks.
Lee Merrill and Virginia Lewis.
Shanine Buckley.
Anybody else? The Misha Barracks on page 273. I'll ask Jenna and Ethan to come back up, and as the Torah is lifted and wrapped, I'll ask everyone to please rise. V'zot HaTorah, page 274.
V'zot HaTorah אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל, על פי אדוני כיד משה. לי 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 לי
Thank you guys very much. Please be seated. I'll ask Mary and Brian to come up for the reading of the Haftorah from the book of Isaiah this morning. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nviim tovim v'ratzav v'divreihem hanemarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai aboker b'torah u'Moshe avdo u'Yisrael amo Uvin v'yeh ha'emet v'tzedek.
Cry from the depth, says God. Do not hold back. Lift up your voice like the shofar. Tell my people their transgression and the house of Jacob their sin. Yes, they seek me daily, as though eager to learn my ways, as if they were a nation that does what is right and has not abandoned God's law. They ask of me the right way, eager for God's nearness. They say, why did we fast? And you do not see it. We afflict ourselves, and you do not know it. Because even on your fast day, you think only of desire, while oppressing all who work for you. Because your fasting is filled with strife, and with callous fist you strike. No, your fasting this day will not lift up your voice before heaven. Is this the fast I desire? A day to afflict body and soul, bowing your head like a reed, covering yourself with sackcloth and ashes. Do you call this a fast, a day worthy of the favor of Adonai? Is not this the fast I desire? To break the bonds of injustice and remove the heavy yoke, to let the oppressed go free and release all those enslaved. It is not to share your bread with the hungry and to take the homeless poor into your home, and never to neglect your own flesh and blood. Then shall your light burst forth like the dawn, and your wounds shall quickly heal. Your righteous one leading the way before you, the presence of Adonai guarding you from behind. Then when you call, Adonai will answer, and when you cry, will respond, I am here. If you remove the chains of oppression, the menacing hand, the malicious word, if you offer your compassion to the hungry and satisfy the suffering, then shall your light shine through the darkness and your night become bright as noon. Adonai will guide you always, slake your thirst in parched places, give strength to your bones. You shall be like a well-watered garden, an unfailing spring. From you they shall rebuild ancient ruins, lay foundations for ages to come. And you shall be called the one who mends the breach and brings back the streets for dwelling. If you cease to trample Shabbat, stop pursuing your affairs on my holy day. If you call Shabbat a delight, the holy day of Adonai honored, and if you honor God by not doing business or speaking of everyday matters, then shall you take pure delight in Adonai. I will lift up your journey on earth to the highest of places and nourish you from the heritage of your father Jacob. For thus spoke Adonai.
Page 279. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam sur kol haolamim tzadik b'kol hadarot ha'el haneman ha'omer v'yaseh hamdaber u'mkayem shekol davarav emet v'tzedek ne'eman atahu Adonai Eloheinu v'ne'emanim devarecha v'davarecha ad midvarecha akor lo yashuv rekam ki hamelech ne'eman v'rakaman atah Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el haneman b'chol devarav. Rachem al Tzion, ki hi beit chayenu, v'lalu vat nefesh toshia b'mhera v'yameinu, Baruch atah Adonai, misameach tzion bevanecha. 282. Samcheinu Adonai Eloheinu be'elahu hanavi avdecha u'malchut Beit David mishichecha b'mhera yavo v'yagel libeinu al kiso lo yeshev zar v'lo yinchalu od acherim et kavodaho ki v'shem kodshecha nishpata lo shelo yikbed nero le'olam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai Magen David. Al HaTorah ve'al Havada ve'al Hanvim ve'al Yom Kippurim hazeh shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu linlicha lislicha l'chakparah lechavod ultifaret al hakol Adonai Eloheinu anaknu modim lach umvarchim otach yitbarak shimcha b'fi kol chai tamid le'olam va'ed udvarcha emet v'kayam la'ad Baruch atah Adonai, Melech Melchel, v'solech lavotenu, lanot amo Beit Yisrael, amavir ashmotenu, b'chol shana v'shana, Melech al kol ha'aretz, mekadesh Yisrael, v'yom ha'kippurim. Continue on 284, the prayer for our congregation. Let's read responsively. Eternal Presence, who blessed our mothers and fathers, bless this holy congregation, a house of study, prayer, and righteous deeds. Together we give thanks.
For our leaders, those who learn, teach, and uphold the Torah, inspiring others to learn, teach, and uphold the Torah. Those who do the sacred work of building our community, may their service bring them joy, fulfillment, and purpose, and may they go from strength to strength.
For our members, diverse in age, interest, and background, Jews by birth, Jews by choice, and those of other faiths who join with us, all who offer their time and talent, their love and commitment.
For all who come here on this holy day of Yom Kippur to share the search for meaning and renewal, your presence is a blessing, your friendship is a gift.
May the spirit of peace, dignity, and respect live within these walls, inspiring us to care for one another with compassion. May we be a source of goodness, light, and healing for the world.
May the one who blessed the generations before us bless us as we stand together this day. One congregation joined with all Jewish communities of the world through our prayers on this day of atonement.
Let us renew ourselves for the year ahead. Let us honor the precious legacy that is ours. On page 290, we rise to honor our Torah. Yahallelu et Shem Adonai, ki nizkav shemo levado. please be seated. So last night, I spoke about the threat to Israel's democracy, why that concerns us, why we should be aware of what's going on, and some possible responses to it. To fight back against authoritarian, anti-democratic forces in Israel is not only our right, but our obligation as Jews in the diaspora. To do so is to join forces with a rapidly increasing number of Jewish organizations and Jewish leaders. And for me, while I tend to be outside of the mainstream relative to other rabbis in Kansas City, what my father would say, my father of blessed memory, manish tanas, so what else is new? That's not the case for the entire country. New York Central Synagogue's Rabbi Angela Buchdahl's Rosh Hashanah sermon urging her congregants to support the hundreds of thousands of protesters in Israel, and in so doing, putting our Jewish values where our money is, went viral and was seen by many as a seismic shift in how American Jews relate to Israel. As an aside, I'm sure the rabbi of my youth, Rabbi Morris Margulies, Zichron Levacha, blessed memory, would be at least somewhat envious that there was not an opportunity back in the day for his sermons to go viral. We also should be supporting the hundreds of thousands of protesters in Israel and put our money where our Jewish values lie. So, well, if that is true in relation to the threat in Israel, should we not be at least equally concerned about the threat to democracy here at home? The phrase we derive from our Talmud is kal v'homer, how much the more so. This is the time where I say what I've said many, many times before, and I say it because I really mean it. Agreeing with the rabbi is not a litmus test for being part of the community. For one, it makes for a really boring shul. And we learn more by respectful disagreement, machloket l'shem shamayim, argument for the sake of heaven. The respectful and loving piece is essential here. That said, I sincerely and firmly believe that the views I express come from a place of our most deeply held and highest Jewish values. And I also express these views or really concerns from a place of abiding fear about the safety of our people. The rise of anti-Semitism over the last 7 years is real and scary, even if not all Jews agree about where that anti-Semitism emanates from and who is more likely to express that anti-Semitism with threats of violence. To frame the discussion regarding what issues present themselves in addressing anti-democratic authoritarian forces here in the United States, the best way to look at all of these issues is to center them around freedom. In freedom or in denial of our freedoms. As I mentioned, I do think the issues are ones we can and should connect to our Jewish values. So as an overarching Jewish foundation, we always go back to our Torah. This comes with a question. Should we be relying on Torah, or really our study and interpretation of Torah, to inform issues which are generally seen as political? Rabbi Shmuley Yanklowitz, a nationally recognized expert on the intersection of Judaism and social justice, addresses how we should look at our Torah within the realm of the political world. A side note here, Shmuley spent about half a minute here in Kansas City as the rabbi of Kehillat Israel, and given his very outspoken activism, it didn't seem like a really good match. Rabbi Lankowitz points to the rabbis in our Talmud in explaining that Torah was not revealed to us in perfect divine language, but rather in imperfect human language. For Shmuley, as a modern Orthodox Jew, he cites the origins of Torah being divine, something about which we Jews can disagree. The alternative explanations are either the Torah is divinely inspired, yet written by human beings, or it is solely a human construct, which would include a human construct of who or what God is. Where we all come together is that once it gets in our human hands, it becomes the product of and limited by our human intellect with widely varying interpretations. Shmuley references Rav Shimshon Raphael Hirsch, the 19th century rabbi considered to be the founder of modern Orthodox Judaism, in saying that the main emphasis of the Bible is always on the ethical and social structure and development of life on earth. In other words, Torah is not simply a lofty treatise on faith. It is at least in part an instruction on how to live our Jewish lives in the everyday world. So while the Torah is holy, it is designed to bring the holy into the everyday rather than attempting to attain holiness by removal from everyday life. As everyday life is in large part concerned with our social relationships, politics naturally seeps in. Shmuley describes politics as power dynamics in social relationships. It is not by definition, nor is it required to be dirty and corrupt. It is an inevitable part of our everyday lives, that is politics, and it is the nature of our existence in a complex world. We actually know the Torah leans into this existence with ethical precepts such as tzedek tzedek tirdof, which I think is often wrongly translated almost literally as justice justice shall you pursue. Rather, I think it is the admonition to pursue absolute justice. And it's all about establishing just tribunals. In other words, it's not some lofty ideal state of a just world, but rather that we need to be practical and ethical in appointing judges and establishing a judicial system that is not compromised by judges taking bribes, or what is referred to in the ethical canons for judges and lawyers as even avoiding the appearance of impropriety. There are two more general precepts found in our written Torah, which inform our Jewish perspective regarding issues that touch on the fault line between democratic governments and authoritarian regimes. One is the mitzvah, the commandment, to not oppress the stranger. Some variation on this mitzvah appears some 36 times in the Torah, more than any other commandment, and when it comes to Torah and interpretation of Torah, quantity matters. This is a commandment that evolves from the prohibition against oppressing the stranger to a positive commandment to love the stranger, and then to the need to love the stranger because that's what God does. It comes from a place of not just empathy, to put ourselves in the shoes of the stranger, but a place of our own human experience as being the stranger in Egypt. We draw on that feeling, which is really the purpose of our Pesach Seder, to connect back to that feeling. And when we do, then we would never want anyone else to feel that way. Pointing to the prophet Jeremiah, a personal favorite prophet of mine, Rabbi S. David Sperling, professor of Hebrew Bible at the Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion, points to the need to not oppress the stranger as a condition for remaining in the land of Israel. Sperling ties this into different areas of concern, to not perverting justice and having our justice system treat the stranger in our midst differently from the rest of the population, and to treating workers justly, something to think about in the present UAW strike. Ultimately, according to Sperling, it's about ridding the land of the wicked and the evil. The other overarching precept in the Torah is that in the book of Genesis, or Breshit, in the Hebrew, we understand that all human beings are created b'tselem Elohim. Everyone is created in God's image. Now, I will grant you that it's sometimes difficult to see in certain people God's image, some more than others. But if we take this idea to heart and use it as our starting point, we come to a different and better place in how we interact with other human beings, particularly those who at first blush seem different to us. So with all this as a backdrop, I want to focus primarily on one issue facing us that is particularly threatening to our American democratic experiment. Yes, and I said, given the present threat to democracy, I still see it as an experiment. As I had previously mentioned, in challenges faced by our democracy, freedom or denial of freedom lies at the center of all these issues. And if we know nothing else as Jews, our Passover Seders are all about the importance of our freedom. Freedom to choose the God to whom we worship, freedom in choosing for whom we work and what we build, freedom to create our own communities, freedom to read and interpret for ourselves our Torah and all the texts that are sacred to us as Jews. So amongst the denial of our freedom sought by those who seek to destroy our democracy, one such attack comes in the form of book bans. Here in Missouri, back in August of 2022, a book ban went into effect as the result of Missouri Senate Bill 775. The ban, as it reads, targets sexually explicit material, which includes sexual intercourse, genitalia, or sadomasochistic abuse. Ostensibly, the ban carves out exceptions for works of serious artistic, anthropologic, or scientific significance. Administrators, teachers, and librarians, or any other school employee can face up to a year in prison or up to a $2,000 fine for violating the law. So the ban on its face might sound reasonable, but its ambiguity, coupled with who gets ultimate control over what books are banned, is making for absurd outcomes. After 3 months into the implementation of the law, almost 300 books have been banned from school libraries here in Missouri. The books that have been banned did not meet the exception for serious artistic, anthropologic, or scientific expression include books about Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, adoptions of works by Shakespeare and Mark Twain, and maybe of greater interest to us, banned books include Art Spiegelman's novel on the Holocaust Moss and other works on the Holocaust. So in addition to book bans which marginalize us as Jews and deny our ability to tell our stories, many of the banned books target the LGBTQ+ community and books that lift up people in the Black community and all people of color, as well as bans on books that depict the real history of slavery and racism in our country. Jonathan Friedman, the Director of Free Expression and Education Programs for PEN America, a free speech advocacy organization that has been documenting book bans, points out that the Missouri ban is particularly egregious, given the range of materials banned. He points to the chilling effect the law has had on schools and libraries and that the ban is ambiguous and arbitrary. Librarians and other school staff go through their own self-imposed removal process, really trying to guess at what books might get them crosswise with the new law without having a clear idea. In retaliation for 2 library groups filing a lawsuit challenging the state law, Missouri House Republicans attempted to cut $4.5 million from the state's library budget. So, as a child who basically grew up at the Corinth Library on Mission Road and always looked forward to checking out the next book, and as one who participated in my elementary school's junior grade books program, I could never imagine I would see a day when our government officials would go on the attack against schools, public libraries, and librarians whose sole goal is to transmit the joy of reading and open our world to greater knowledge. Regarding the possible chilling effect that these book bans can have, a Florida Jewish Community Center recently canceled a scheduled presentation by Jewish author Rachel Beanland because her book mentioned slavery. The book itself is based on a true story of an 1811 fire at a Richmond, Virginia theater that killed 72 people. The JCC had asked the author for more information on her book, stating that the politics surrounding the Black community and the history of the Civil War is complicated. Beanland observed that while Ron DeSantis' policies of removing slavery from textbooks and removing books by Black authors is troubling enough, called the Homer so much the more so to have a private Jewish organization be chilled into following those policies. Just this past week, Missouri's GOP state senator and 2024 gubernatorial candidate Bill Eigel promised, if elected, he will burn what he deems to be woke books that brainwash our kids, doing so on the front lawn of the governor's mansion. While Eigel simulated a book burning empty boxes at a campaign rally, the chilling message was clear. As was pointed out in the Kansas City Star, public book burnings typically illustrate extreme censorship related to political, cultural, and religious materials. In our case, that means works on the Holocaust. Reading that article, I immediately thought of Nazi Germany on May 10, 1933. On that night, book burnings took place at the hands of Nazi-dominated student groups in 34 university towns and cities in Germany. Following that, a blacklist of literary works was created, including authors such as Hemingway and including any works by Jewish authors. So a final observation of my own on book bans. For those who support these bans, one of the justifications is that it is a parent's right to come into schools and show up at school board meetings to demand that certain books be banned from all students. And it seems that any one complaining parent can prevent the students of an entire school or an entire school district from having access to books that offend them. My response is twofold. One is, which parents have the right? Most of the push to ban books comes from a group known as Moms for Liberty. They seek to ban all books mentioning LGBTQ+ community, race, or racism. Contrary to their assertions, most Americans, including half of the Republicans, oppose these book bans. My other response is that I do trust the judgment of our teachers, our librarians, and school administrators who, when not threatened with fines, prison, and loss of their jobs, make good judgments about what is best for our kids. Finally, as it pertains to book bans, in and of itself, this is certainly not new. Back in my day, it was J.D. Salinger's Catcher in the Rye. But back then, the ban did not include, as it does now in some states, one of my favorite books that dealt with issues of race and racism, To Kill a Mockingbird. I cannot imagine being the same person of empathy for the black community without it. We need books that teach our marginalized kids about themselves with a sense of pride, and we need all of our kids to read books to learn about people not like themselves. We cannot let the supposed freedom of a very few impinge and deny the rights of the vast majority of parents, of teachers, librarians, and our educators to give our kids a full and real education, an education that is necessary for our kids to function with full knowledge and compassion for the world we actually live in. So with that, I wanted to touch briefly on a couple of other issues where freedom is being denied. I'm doing so briefly as these issues have been previously addressed by people with far more expertise than I. Denise Lieberman spoke last week about voting rights, the move by many state legislators, including legislators in Missouri and Kansas, to suppress and deny certain groups the right to vote. Egregious voter ID requirements impose huge obstacles on voting on the elderly, such as Denise's mother, as she pointed out, our military veterans, the disabled, the black community and other communities of color, college students, and the poor, both urban and rural. Gerrymandering renders the votes of certain voters meaningless, denying them their voice and rightful representation in our government. As Denise said, denial of voting rights shuts the gate to making progress toward every other issue upon which our freedom is impacted. And 1 year ago, Emily Wales, the CEO of Planned Parenthood Great Plains, spoke to us about reproductive rights. So to quickly review halakha, Jewish law, for reproductive rights, halakha establishes that there is a right to an abortion in the first 40 days after conception for any reason or no reason at all. Now, I know 40 days isn't much help, but it does establish that under Jewish law, life does not begin at conception. After 40 days, the life and health of the mother always takes priority over any risk to the fetus right up until the baby crowns. And I will only add this. Whatever differing views amongst different religious communities there might be as to the status of a fetus, I am confident the view of all is that those who are pregnant who are carrying a fetus are fully formed human beings. And abortion laws have caused healthcare providers to hesitate and deny care to them in emergency situations, care that includes, in some situations, abortions to save the mother's life. The stories, such as the stories of the 5 Texas women who are suing their state, are horrific. This is why the right to an abortion in the Kansas Constitution was upheld by a vote of nearly 60% of Kansans, which tracks with national polling where the numbers come in at over 60%. And other red states have supported abortion as a right as well. The issue of reproductive rights is the right for anyone to make health care decisions in consultation with their physician and without input from some state legislator who ignores the dire health consequences of banning abortions in the various states. So, our democracy is definitely in peril, and our most basic and important freedoms are at risk. May we have the strength in the coming year, 5,784, and in the coming election year, 2024, to work and, yes, fight for what is important, fight for the rights and safety of our Jewish community, for all communities under threat, and as citizens of the United States, to fight for its future as a free people living in a democracy. Kain Yehi Ratzon, may that be God's will. Continue our service now on page 294, Shema Kolenu.
Shema
ברחמים וברצון את השיבנו אדוני אליך, השיבנו אליך בנשובה, חדש ימינו, כקדם. אל תשליכנו תשליכנו לצגנה כי כלל כוחנו ורחם עלינו, עלינו, וקבל ברחמים, ברחמים וברצון את תפילתנו
Our God and God of all generations, may our prayers reach your presence, and when we turn to you, do not be indifferent. Adonai, we are arrogant and stubborn, claiming to be blameless and free of sin. In truth, we have stumbled and strayed. We have done wrong. We rise for the vidui, the confessional, page 296. I da 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 die, I da da die, die, I da da die, die, die. Asham nu. Bagadnu, Gazalnu, Dibarnu Dofi, Evinu, Vehirshanu, Zahadnu, Hamasnu, Tafalnu Sheker, Yatsnu Ra, Kizavnu, Lahatsnu, Maradnu, Niatsnu, Sararnu, Ahavinu, Pashanu, Sararnu, Kishinu Oref, Rashanu, Shichatnu, Tiavnu, Tainu, Tihanu. Of these wrongs we are guilty, we betray, we steal, we scorn, we act perversely, we are cruel, we scheme, we are violent, we slander, we devise evil, we lie, we ridicule, we disobey. We abuse, we defy, we corrupt, we commit crimes, we are hostile, we are stubborn, we are immoral, we kill, we spoil, we go astray, we lead others astray. You know the secrets of the universe and the secrets of the human heart. You know and understand us, for you examine our inner lives. Nothing is concealed from you, nothing hidden from your sight. Eternal One, our God and God of our ancestors, we pray that this be your will. Forgive all our wrongs, pardon us for every act of injustice, help us atone for all our moral failures. Responsively, Hebrew to English, beginning on page 300. Al-Chet shatanu lefanecha ba'onas v'ratzon, v'al-Chet shatanu lefanecha be'yodim uvlo yodim.
The ways we have wronged you under duress and by choice, and harm we have caused in your world consciously and unconsciously.
Al-Chet shatanu lefanecha bivla da'at, v'al-Chet shatanu lefanecha b'ritzat raglayim la'ara.
The ways we have wronged you through our thoughtlessness, and harm we have caused in your world through impulsive acts of malice.
Al-Chet shatanu lefanecha b'hozek yad, v'al-Chet shatanu lefanecha b'zilul horim umorim.
The ways we have wronged you by abusing our power, and harm we have caused in your world through disrespect to parents and teachers.
Al-Chet shatanu lefanecha b'yetzer hara, v'al-Chet shatanu lefanecha b'kiyut oref.
The ways we have wronged you by giving in to our hostile impulses, and harm we have caused in your world through inflexibility and stubbornness.
Al-Chet shatanu lefanecha b'chakash u'chazav, v'al-Chet shatanu lefanecha b'kalut rosh.
The ways we have wronged you through lies and deceit, and harm we have caused in your world by making light of serious matters.
Al-Chet shatanu lefanecha b'siach siftotenu, v'al-Chet shatanu lefanecha b'tzarut ayin.
The ways we have wronged you in our routine conversations, and harm we have caused in your world through envy.
V'al kulam Elohai slichot, salach lanu, machal lanu, kaper lanu.
For all these failures of judgment and will, God, forgive us
304, Al chet she'atanu lefanecha b'alu uvasater, ve'al chet she'atanu lefanecha b'sinat chinam.
The ways we have wronged you openly and secretly, and harm we have caused in your world by hating without cause.
Al chet she'atanu lefanecha b'frikat ol, ve'al chet she'atanu lefanecha b'ma'acha uv'mishteh.
The ways we have wronged you by losing self-control, and harm we have caused in your world through consumption of food and drink.
Al chet she'atanu lefanecha b'alu arayot, ve'al chet she'atanu lefanecha b'imutz halev.
The ways we have wronged you through sexual immorality, and harm we have caused in your world by hardening our hearts.
Al chet she'atanu lefanecha b'neshek uv'marbit, ve'al chet she'atanu lefanecha b'masa uv'matan.
The ways we have wronged you through greed and exploitation, and harm we have caused in your world through dishonesty and business.
Al chet she'atanu lefanecha b'chihur halev, ve'al chet she'atanu lefanecha b'chilut.
The ways we have wronged you through our innermost thoughts, and harm we have caused in your world through gossip and rumor.
Al chet she'atanu lefanecha b'chafat shochad, ve'al chet she'atanu lefanecha b'chilul Hashem.
The ways we have wronged you by offering or accepting bribes, and harm we have caused in your world by profaning your name in public.
Ve'al kulam Elohai slichot, salach lanu, machal lanu, kaper lanu.
For all these failures of judgment and will, God have forgiveness. Forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement.
Be seated. Continuing on page 310, our God and God of our ancestors, we are your people and you are our God. We are your children and you are our parents. We are the people who serve you and you call us to serve. We are your community and you are our portion. We are your legacy and you are our purpose. We are your flock and you are our shepherd. We are your vineyard and you watch over us. We are your work and you are our maker. We are your beloved and you are our lover. We are your treasure, and you are the ones we cherish. We are your people, and you reign over us. We offer you our words, and you offer us yours. So forgive us, pardon us, and lead us to atonement. So some thank yous. First to our incredible musicians for such beautiful music. To Brendan Howard, Jana Harris, Will Perry, Karen Engebretson. Our special guests, Patrick Buckley and Stan Kessler. Stan on trumpet. It's always just such a treat to have you. As you know, I have admired your abilities in jazz for years, and to get you in this context is a double treat for me. Patrick, who was our former music director and who's here honoring the work of our present music director, Laura Steinell. So both for Patrick's presence and the ability to honor Laura, it's all good. I thank our board of directors, our officers, our members, and all who volunteered and participated, everyone who participated in the service today. A thank you to our friends here at All Souls, where we've been here for, 11 years plus now. Thanks to Hallie Sylvester, Mieka Westra, our AV team. To the folks, our friends here at All Souls, Anthony Edwards, my friends and colleagues, Reverend Dr. Kendall Gibbons and Reverend Aaron Daka Hawley. Coming up for the rest of the day, at around 1 o'clock or so, we will have study, as is traditional on Yom Kippur afternoon. This year we'll be studying the Yizkor service. Actually, it plays in. We've been doing a thing called Ask the Rabbi and been kind of off of that deciding what we'll study next. But the first topic has lasted like 9 months now, which is a study of Jewish practice on burial and mourning. This is kind of like the big grand conclusion. I promise after this we're going to move on to another topic, but the conversations have been so fascinating we haven't wanted to let it go. So we'll look forward to that for those of you who can stay for that. At 2:15, because Laura doesn't have enough to do every year on Yom Kippur, she leads meditation in the afternoon, so that will be back in here. For study, we'll start out in the foyer, and we'll figure out if maybe we can sneak outside for a little while or find a room in here, depending on what's most comfortable. After meditation, around 3:30, we will gather back here for Mincha, the afternoon service, and Torah reading of the book of Jonah, which we always look forward to, followed by Yizkor, which is at 4:15. Okay, I'm a little punchy. If you don't already have your name with us as a member of the congregation of those you wish to honor, those you observe a yahrzeit during the year, and you want to have those names included and mentioned during the Yizkor service, we have a book you can sign outside in the foyer. After Yizkor, we take a short break, and then we do our Nila and our concluding service, which is always uplifting. We close it off with a blowing of shofar and Havdalah. It's always a beautiful time for our congregation, so I hope you can be here for that. Coming up this Friday night is the first night of Sukkot. We will be celebrating the Sukkah at our home, my home, and we will feed you. So if you want to come and be in the Sukkah and wave lulav and etrog and have a Seudah festive meal, you need to RSVP to me. You can find it also in our newsletter and on our website. And then a week from Friday night is Simchas Torah, Shmini Atzeret Simchas Torah, which will be a celebration back here. With that, we will close our service this morning with Hayom Tomatzenu, page 318.
Hayom te'amtzenu.
Amen.
Hayom tevarchenu.
Amen.
Hayom tegadlenu.
Amen.
Hayom tirshenu lenova. Hayom tishtifenu l'chaim tovim. Hayom tishma shavatenu. Hayom titvechenu bin tzidkecha.
And to everyone, Gemar Tov, may you be inscribed for good in the coming year, and those who are fasting, it should be a meaningful fast and a safe fast. Thank you.